the Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.
The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you.
Now entering the game for Philly Pressbox Radio, Bill Furman and Jim Chet Chesko.
It's Wednesday, January 28th, 2026. Welcome to the Philly Pressbox Radio Roundtable, brought to you by the Irish Rover Station House in Langhorne, PA, Cavs, Philly Tailgates, and the STT Sports Network. I'm Bill Furman. I'll be your host tonight, along with my partner, Jim Chet Chesko. Chet, the Flyers have hit a wall. Let's start out with that. The Sixers are still slightly better than 500 team. They're not playing that great. The Phillies seem to be developing more holes each day. And the Eagles still haven't signed an offensive coordinator, and the Super Bowl is set. Oh, yes. There's a word floating around, Chet, that there might be a random Chet tonight that we should be excited about. That's what I heard. We have plenty to talk about in Philly sports.
I wish it was more, on a positive note, the stuff we were talking about. But, hey, it is what it is. It's kind of a sad situation when the most upbeat thing that you mentioned in the open is my Random Chet segment.
Right?
I am confident, though, that you and the majority of our viewers, especially old geezers like us, will enjoy watching this one. So be sure to stick around for that one in the second half of the show, folks.
Well, there's a rumor that it's a good one, so
yeah,
don't disappoint, pal. That's all I can say. And speaking on a positive note, we have the Eagles Hall of Fame legendary coach Dick Vermeil making his annual visit to Philly Pressbox Radio.
Yeah, it is the coach's fifth straight late January, early February visit to our show. It has become something of a tradition. We do it every year between the conference championship games and the Super Bowl. It is his sixth visit overall, and it's always a pleasure to get his take on things. And this one will be extra interesting because we're coming up on the 50th anniversary of his hiring as Eagles head coach. That officially happened in early February 1976. You know what, though? Speaking of Hall of Fame coaches, Bill Belichick, not going to be a Hall of Fame coach, at least not this year.
I was going to mention that to you a little bit later down the road. What do you make of that?
Yeah, we'll talk about that. Save that for later.
All right. It's hard to believe, Harry. And it's hard to believe that Vermeil was 50 years ago, too. That's for darn sure.
Yep.
Well, hey, I hate to start this thing off so negative, but how does an NBA team fall behind 50 points in the third quarter, especially to a team that only won 18 games? How does that bum team of yours, your 10-9-8 76ers, do that?
I had the misfortune of watching that game, which they moved to Monday afternoon, and there's no excuse. Let me say that, but there were these factors at work. Paul George and Joel Embiid were both getting a day of rest, a little management, because there was a Tuesday night game. So a day and a half later, a national TV game that I guess both guys were going to play in against the Bucks in Philly. We'll talk about that later. They moved the start time of the game up by 4 or 5 hours to 3 in the afternoon. Maybe their alarms just didn't really go off, mentally at least. And you had Tyrese Maxey having maybe the worst game of his, not only this all-star season of his, but maybe of the last 3 years for him. He shot poorly, scored just 6 points. Again, no excuses, but all those things were a part of the outcome where they were down by 50 points late in the third quarter. Made it, well, not even respectable. They lost by 37.
Well, I mean, okay, I'll take all that into consideration, but compete. You have to compete, right? You can't lose by 50. So you're pros, they're pros. They're not even a good team. You're supposed to be a better team. You're playing your backups. Even if you lost by 20, how do you get behind 50 points? That's like darn near impossible.
Yeah, Maxey's heavy minutes may be catching up with him. He's playing 39 minutes a game on average, and even though he's young, he's only 25 still. He's been really inconsistent now over the last week and a half, 2 weeks or so, pretty much right since he was named an all-star starter. I'm not saying that it should be the case, but sometimes it does wear on you, So.
Well, here's my take, and I'm glad you brought this up because I'm going somewhere that you're probably not going to like. Okay, So this Embiid guy all of a sudden has decided he wants to play. So now he's playing most nights, right?
He is.
He's scoring 30 points a game, whatever, and doing what he does. And now their offense is starting to revolve around him. And what's happening? Maxey is sliding, and the team is losing. They've lost 4 of their last 10.
I don't know if
they've lost 6 of their last 10. They've won 4 of their last 10.
I don't know if there's a correlation there or not. But, hey, let's talk about what happened last night. They played. He played well. Paul George dusted off the cobwebs. Paul George hit 9 3-pointers, scored 32 points. He looked like he was, 10 years younger. It was the best performance, I think, by the big three since they've been a big three, over the last couple of years. Last year, just throw that one out because they stunk the whole year, Embiid and George. But they're starting to get some good games, occasionally at least, out of George. Embiid has played a whole lot better. Offensively, certainly. He is not the guy he used to be on defense. He was never a terrific rebounder. But it was great to see Paul George, who has been playing well defensively the whole season, and now he's occasionally having these little offensive games. Maxey was a little bit better. Another positive out of the Tuesday night win in Milwaukee, and I love to see them beat Doc Rivers, by the way. Another positive was Jared McCain, who got in some garbage time on Monday and shot well. He played some legitimate real minutes in the Tuesday night win over Milwaukee and looked good. He shot the ball a lot better. So, if they can get McCain back into the rotation and, a threat to score some points, that's a big plus also. So enough about the Embiid blasting. I know you like doing that.
No, I think what we have is you fall in line with the apologists in Philadelphia who want to just defend this guy. And I'm holding my ground. They ain't winning with him. It ain't happening. They'll not win a championship. That hasn't changed. And we'll see how it goes. But if the offense revolves back to him, they're in trouble.
I don't think that's going to be the case. I think they have to mix it up. And I think Nick Nurse is a smart enough guy to know that he can't rely on Embiid as being the focal point anymore. At least I hope that's the case. But, here's another interesting side thing. Now with the Embiid playing so well offensively, there's a lot of talk among, some radio people, some fans. This is the time to trade Joel Embiid. Other teams are going to see the value in him, and he can help them down the stretch. Sixers aren't going to get to the finals this season. Probably never with Embiid. I know you feel that way. So maybe you can trade him now and get something good in return. I don't know.
Well, I'm not necessarily saying trade him. I'm just saying you can't build the offense around him. He needs to be a piece of the offense, not the piece of the offense. That's where I'm going with that.
I think Joe Howe is making. I think that's
he's a scoring machine.
Comment. A little sarcasm from Joe. They need more money and more rest.
Yeah, he's a scoring machine. There's no doubt.
Oh, yeah.
You can't build things around him because we've seen year and year it slows down the offense and it keeps them from being as good as they can be.
Get out of here, Malloy.
All right, get out of here, Embiid too. Chet, speaking of getting out of here, Harrison Bader, he's out of here. Signed with the Giants. All indications are he wanted to stay. He wanted to come back to the Phillies. Didn't work out. And that leaves another hole to fill in that outfield that is looking a bit like Swiss cheese right now.
Yeah, it is. It would have been nice to have him back. I don't think they really seriously considered bringing him back, even though, the contract he got with the Giants is, from what I understand, pretty similar to what the Phillies would have been willing to pay. So I don't know why it didn't work out. Maybe, as some people say, they got the best 2 or 3 months out of Bader that we were ever going to see from him. He was pretty average before in his
247 career hitter
now. So, maybe it's for the best in the long run.
Yeah. I'm not thinking, I'm not devastated over this, but he's not, in my mind, he's not the guy that's going to win the World Series for you or lose the World Series for you. He could have been a solid substitute piece maybe, but I'm not devastated over it. But with that said, you got to have somebody to fill that spot. And right now, I don't know who that would be.
Yeah, we've talked about this over the last couple of weeks. The outfield now, as it stands, with Marsh, a rookie, Justin Crawford, and the new guy, Garcia. It's not exactly murderer's row out there, so it's a little scary. And you still have Johan Rojas in the picture, and
that makes it worse.
and good old Otto Kemp as well. Weston Wilson out of here. He's gone. And now I'm hearing some talk that the Phillies may be thinking at least about trying Aiden Miller, the shortstop phenom, who's a highly ranked prospect, putting him in the outfield at least a little bit, seeing if he can play left or center field down the road. So something to consider.
Well, that's kind of interesting. I mean, they got to do something with him, I guess, because he's supposed to be that good. But
yeah, and he can't play shortstop if Trey Turner's here.
Right. Yeah. So maybe you make him a second baseman, or I don't know what you do with him. But, I mean, you can't put Miller out there platooning somehow with Crawford. That'd be goofy. Your two best prospects, out there. They'd have to figure that out. I don't know. They got to find a depth player, and maybe they're out there, laying around in free agency. Somebody just fill a gap. But there's an awful lot. Without Bader, there's an awful lot more going to be dependent on Crawford to be successful. And as we talked last week, he's a rookie. It's going to be bumps in the road.
I can't wait to see how this plays out. It's going to be interesting for sure. But you know what? Opening day, the real opening day, less than 2 months away now, Bill. March 26th, I will be there, Phillies and whoever the hell they're playing. March 26th, a home opener and season opener this year.
Yeah, it hasn't been home opener for quite a while, has it?
Yeah, it's been a while. Usually they open on the road because it is kind of chilly in late March, but they don't care anymore. The weather always sucks for the home opener, no matter whether it's, the second or third series of the year, the first series. It's always kind of cold and damp, but I'll be there.
And I believe we're 2 weeks from 2 weeks from spring training.
Yeah, about that.
Yeah,
you would think
2 weeks. 2 weeks today. Yeah, it's real close. That's for sure. And
February 11th is 2 weeks from today. So,
and if they're coming down, they better bring their long johns because it's mighty chilly down here. That's for sure. Pitchers don't need to be out throwing it right now. That's for sure.
Yeah, that is true. I hope it warms up. I don't like cold weather. I have shoveled snow literally about 12 times since Sunday. I did it like 4 times on Sunday, another couple of times, or 5 times on Tuesday, actually. And then twice today I went out, and I have a crappy snowblower that's in the garage, never wants to start, so I don't even try using that anymore. And I got one of these little Snow Joe blow guys that is really just for like tiny, small snowfalls. So I've done most of it by hand, and this old body ain't what it used to be, Bill.
Be smarter than that, pal. That's not.
I do like 12 to 15 minutes at a clip. That's it.
Yeah, be careful. That's not good, especially when you're lifting ice and throwing that stuff around. Not good.
I know it.
Well, we had 27 this morning here in Lakeland. There is actually a possibility, 10% possibility of snow in Tampa and Lakeland over this weekend. It's supposed to get colder on rain, snow Saturday, colder on Sunday, colder on Monday. So that's another week going to be by for spring training. That's going to be mighty cold.
Get your mittens out. As Joe said, I had double mittens on. I had a little pair of tight gloves, and then I had like a bigger set of gloves on top of those because my hands get cold. I'm a wuss. I admit it. Don't like the cold weather at all.
Yep. I'm with you. Me too. All right, Chet. Philly Pressbox Radio is part of the STT Sports Network, as in Set the Trends. It's a network set up by our pal, Phil Stiefel, host of a terrific Trending in the AM show that you can find every weekday morning on the STT Sports Network YouTube channel. Check out Phil. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. Phil's show is on there, and so is ours. Yep, you can find Philly Pressbox Radio there in addition to on our own YouTube channel and our Facebook page. Again, it's the STT Sports Network, setting the trends for what sports talk should be. Mm-hmm. Hey, Chet, while we're on STT and setting the trends, Phil told us what he thought about the whole Sixers Flyers thing last week, not getting too high, too low. Well, right. Phil got all excited this morning about, I saw a tweet from him about Joel, and I had to respond to Phil, calm down, man. You're taking the bait. This guy's going to let you down. So Phil had a lot going on his show this morning. And for those that haven't ever listened to it, check it out. Phil does a great job.
Yeah, 8 o'clock pretty much every weekday. He does a great job, as you said. I'm taking the approach regarding what you were just talking about to what Brandon Lee Gouton said a few weeks back. Anything we get from the Sixers this year, I'm going to take as a bonus. they can win 8 in a row right here. I'm not going to go out and buy playoff tickets or get my hopes up because something bad is going to happen in terms of injuries or whatever down the road. So just enjoy the wins while you get them.
There you go. Hey, Chet, tell us what's going on over at the Irish Rover Station House on these cold January days.
You're talking about this place, the Irish Rover Station House in Langhorne, Pennsylvania. Terrific food plus 24 beers on tap. Killer Burger Thursdays with Thursday night. Also bringing $9 wings and $5 giant Stella pours. They have happy hour specials, music most weekends, and a $5 Sunday Fun Day menu. Oh, coming up on February 10th, another one of those fabulous paint and sip events. That's always a big hit. They usually sell out, so reserve a spot ahead of time. All of that and more you will find at the Irish Rover Station House. They're located on Bellevue Avenue in Langhorne, and you can find them on the web at irishroverstationhouse.com.
Hey, whitey man, I miss you. When I listen to the Phillies.
Hi, I'm singer-songwriter and diehard Phillies fan Chuck Brodsky, and you're watching Bill and Chet knock it out of the park on Philly Pressbox Radio. Go Phils.
Go Phils. Hey, Chet, Super Bowl is set. The New England Patriots survived a blizzard in Denver for the privilege of playing the tornado that is the Seattle Seahawks offense.
Yeah, I enjoyed watching those 2 conference title games last Sunday. I got to tell you, as you said, the game in Denver did turn into a kind of a second half blizzard. Not a lot of points, but some great defense by both teams. The Patriots holding on for the victory, and the Seahawks then taking care of business at home against their division rival, the Rams. Those teams have played 3 great, competitive, high-scoring, fun games over the last 2 months or so. Fun to watch. Sam Darnold silencing most of his critics for sure. We can talk more about that later. We're going to hold off on our Super Bowl pick till next week, I believe. But it should be an interesting Super Bowl, I would think, out in Santa Clara.
Yeah, I think so too. Denver, the line right now, I think, is 4.5, Seattle. But New England, it's hard to tell where they stood exactly because of the weather conditions there. If Denver kicks that field goal in the first half, takes a 10-0 lead, Sean Payton got a little confused about the weather forecast, and it probably cost him a football game.
Yeah.
Hey,
yeah,
how about some useless information for you?
Okay.
Do you know who Sam Darnold's grandfather is?
I do not.
Sam Darnold's grandfather was a tremendous athlete at USC. He was also an Olympian along the way. And this is the truth. I'm not making this up.
Okay.
His name is Dick Hammer. Okay. And this is the truth. Dick Hammer is one of the original Marlboro men. Remember when we were kids, the Marlboro commercials,
yes.
Cigarette commercials?
Of course.
Well, Sam Darnold's uncle, or grandfather, is our original Marlboro man. So while you're sitting around tonight, Google his name up and you'll get the whole thing. So there's your useless information from me tonight, Chet.
I enjoy that. I love useless information. It's always great to see. And that reminds me of something, Bill. Speaking of useless information, remember last week we had the little Random Chet thing where I replayed a couple of the great ones from 5 years ago, the very first couple of ones we did. And one of them was about the year-round shorts guy, the guy who would wear shorts, even in the winter, whether it was like 10 degrees. Well, I went to Walmart yesterday, Bill, and look what I saw. That is an actual picture from yesterday at Walmart. It was like 18 degrees outside yesterday morning, and there's that guy.
Well, it was funny. I think whatever morning it was, you and I were texting. I said, hey, you said it was snowing like crazy. I said, it's a good day to stand by your window and watch somebody walk by in shorts.
I just had to laugh when I saw that guy because of what we were talking about.
Right. Oh, funny. Hey, while we're talking about football, let's talk about this Bill Belichick situation. Bill has been notified, I guess, that he did not get selected. And let that word get out. The NFL, the Hall of Fame, put out a statement this afternoon kind of trying to backpedal that the sworn to secrecy apparently has been broken because they've been getting nothing but flack about this one. And like him or not, I mean, his Super Bowl record speaks for himself, and he's got to be a Hall of Famer.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. He wasn't a very likable guy, but did you see Paul Domowich's little piece today about it?
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, exactly. Domo laid it out there saying, look, it's not just the media. It's not just journalists who are voting for him. There are other Hall of Famers. There are, some coaches, a whole bunch of different people involved in the voting process. And, there are perhaps reasons why he didn't get the 40% or the 80% right away. Some people may be penalizing him. Others considering, the Spygate situation where they filmed opposing teams, perhaps even the Eagles, illegally. So, but beyond all that, and yeah, Tom Brady, a huge factor in all of those Super Bowl titles, of course, but you got to give Belichick credit where credit is due. Joe Howe disagrees. Joe Howe does not like Belichick at all, thinks he should not be in there, but
well,
okay.
I don't know how the numbers don't tell the story, and Tom Brady being there doesn't matter. Pat Mahomes is with Andy Reid too, and Joe Montana was with Bill Walsh. It's a combination of how things work out, and they all get the credit for it. And I agree, Belichick has not done great without Brady, but he had Brady all those years, and he won all those years, and that's he's a first ballot guy. No doubt about it. 40 or 50 voters. He needed 40 to vote him in, and he did not get 40 votes.
Yeah.
We don't know how many he got, but he didn't get 40.
Right. You got to think they will remedy that next year, and he will get in, but he's just going to have to wait a year. Oh, well.
And I thought the thing with Damo was so good because it actually laid out how the voting goes and how they made it harder to get in. And that's there's just so many great players that should be in that it's going to just take forever or they're not going to get in. And that's a shame.
Yeah, they now lump the coaching candidates in with some of the other senior Hall of Fame players, and you have to pick a certain amount of that total. So it does make
the owner, the contributor group was also thrown in.
Right.
Yeah, so it just makes it.
Yeah,
really
kudos to Damo for explaining all of that. He did a good job with that.
Yes. And basically, the long story short, for anybody who didn't read it, there were 5 people that ended up on the ballot, and you got to pick 3. Mm-hmm. So if you did, everybody's going to pick somebody different, and it makes it much harder to get 80% doing it that way.
Exactly.
All right. Good stuff. Well, hey, Chet, speaking of good stuff, what could be better than tailgating with the best tailgaters in Philadelphia, Bob Cavanaugh and the gang at Cavs Philly Tailgates?
Oh, let me get my Bob Cavanaugh spot and tell you about what's going on with Cav. You know this. Cav has been cooking up a terrific catering business for some 35 years. Cav, a 3-time winner of Philly Tailgate's Jack Daniels Great American Tailgate Party Contest and a past winner of the Philly Daily News Tailgate Award. Cav's also does corporate events, parties, you name it. But yeah, they're known best for those tailgate parties. And while there won't be any Eagles parties till September, there will be Phillies tailgates. There's one before the home opener on March 26th. As I said, less than 2 months away now. And another one before a Phil's Guardians game in May. Also, how about this? A tailgate before one of the 2 Morgan Wallen concerts that'll take place at the Link. This particular tailgate on August 1st. Get details on those and other events at Cavs website, phillytailgates.com. And if you have any questions, you can email them at cavscatering@verizon.net. Cavs Philly Tailgates is the way to go.
Hey, Ted, I will go throw this up from Joe. He was never a winner without Brady. Joe must not be remembering that Belichick won two Super Bowls as a defensive coordinator with the Giants as well. 12 trips to the Super Bowl, 8 wins. There's no argument on this.
Yeah. Sorry, Joe, but, we don't like Belichick. I know that, but he is a Hall of Famer.
Yep. Hey, Chet, you had a chance to visit with legendary Super Bowl champion, the Hall of Famer, Coach Dick Vermeil, about the Super Bowl and, of course, the Eagles.
Yeah, earlier today, Coach Vermeil and I talked for the 5th straight year about this time. As I said, we covered a lot of topics in our time together, and here is that conversation. We are a week and a half away from Super Bowl 60, so it's a great time to welcome back a Super Bowl winning coach and a Pro Football Hall of Famer, the fantastic Dick Vermeil. Coach, great to see you again.
Nice to be with you again. That was an annual event, right?
It is indeed. Yeah, 5 years in a row we've done this now. Coach, I'm in New Jersey where we got 9 or 10 inches of snow over the weekend. The wind chill is in the single digits each morning this week. I'm guessing it's a bit nicer where you are.
It is nicer in Key West, but it's not as nice as it usually is. Hopefully it will change soon.
All right. Coach, let's go back in time 50 years. Early February 1976. You had just finished up your second year as head coach at UCLA. You're a young man of 39, and the Philadelphia Eagles decided they wanted to talk to you about being their new head coach. What do you remember about those conversations, and how did they convince a California guy to take a job on the other side of the country?
Well, I remember sitting at my desk 2 days after the Rose Bowl and receiving this phone call from the Philadelphia Eagles and talking with them. They wanted to know if I would be interested in being their head coach. And I said I really wasn't interested. I have a real good job. I don't want to leave UCLA, and I think we can build a national champion here. Of course, I was a little overconfident having just won the Rose Bowl, but that was my statement to them. And they said, well, we're staying over at the Beverly Hills. We have a suite there, the Beverly Hilton Hotel. And if you change your mind, give us a call. So that evening, I called George Allen, who I'd worked for, and he said, Coach, you should go over there because no one calls you and offers you an opportunity to be interviewed for a head coaching job in the NFL. So I hung up. I called Chuck Knox, who I was working for, and before I went to UCLA, and he said, Coach, you got to go visit with him. So the next day, I talked to my coaching staff about this opportunity. And that time we had 10 assistants, and all 10 of them said, Coach, you got to go talk to this guy. So I called back, and actually it was Jim Murray, the general manager of the team, picked up the phone, and I said, Jim, I'm interested in coming and talk with you. And he said, well, let's meet tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock at the Bel Air. So that was Thursday morning. Few days after the initial call, and I went over and sat down there and visited with him. And I was impressed with Jimmy, great salesman. Okay. I was impressed with Leonard Toast, and there were a couple other people there as well. And so I said, all right, hey, these people are very serious, and they're offering me an opportunity I may never get again or get with such a passionate request. They were really recruiting me. So I said, okay, let's get it done. And that's how it all materialized. Yeah.
Yeah. So it worked out, and the rest is history, as you said. Hey, I saw in the Inquirer a few months back that you wear your Eagles NFC Championship ring when you wear a ring rather than your Pro Football Hall of Fame ring or your Rams Super Bowl ring. Why is that?
Well, first off, it's where I live. Secondly, there's 17 or 18 of those guys that played on that football that live in town. They all wear the same ring. So, I feel I belong there. That's my home. That's my initial team. And I also felt that I was a bigger part of that team at that time than I was the Rams later on, in that I was the head coach. I was my own offensive coordinator. I coached the quarterbacks, and I called my own plays. And you feel a little more deeply involved in the game itself as well as the overall organization. So that's why I wear it.
Hey, you mentioned the offensive coordinator and you calling your own plays. Right now, the Eagles are searching for an offensive coordinator. Of the 4 that have worked under Nick Sirianni, 2 did well, went to the Super Bowl, won a Super Bowl in one case, and got head coaching jobs. The other 2 guys, they got fired. Now, you had a couple of pretty good ones in St. Louis and Kansas City, of course, in Mike Martz and Al Saunders. What makes a great OC?
Well, I think a guy that's willing to utilize the knowledge of his entire offensive staff and not feel that he has to dominate every opinion and every decision and mold a scheme that fits everybody, including the players first, and then the coaching staff's opinions, and then be able to handle the pressure game day. But also, there's always specific guys that seem to have the talent to look at different schemes and see things within that defensive scheme that they want to attack that nobody else sees. Mike Martz was that way. Al Saunders was that way. I was not that way. The old-fashioned offenses, you just lined up and played with what you almost didn't change from week to week. You had variations from week to week, but really you ran your offense. But the gifted play callers, like the guys today, some of them, Sean McVay, these kind of guys, they look at defenses and they see little things within that scheme that other people don't see. And as long as you take those thoughts and your visions and include it with the rest of the offensive staff, you can put together a real good game plan package.
I caught you on WIP last week. I believe you said the Eagles OC job is a gig that candidates should definitely be interested in. Why haven't they filled that position as yet as we speak here on January 28th?
I really haven't talked to anybody, so I really don't have an opinion on that. There are maybe some guys a little bit afraid of the responsibility there because of the situation that just happened. The expectations in Philadelphia are greater than any other city. First off, they won a Super Bowl a year ago. Okay, and secondly, now they don't win the Super Bowl, and an offensive coordinator is fired, and there are people that maybe don't want that responsibility within their first responsibility of being an offensive coordinator. Wow, if I screw up 2 games in a row, they're going to be mad at me the rest of the 14, 15 games. It's intense in Philadelphia, as you know.
Oh, yeah. Well, speaking of the Eagles, not the season we were hoping for after last year's Super Bowl title. Yes, they were 11-6, but the offense just never seemed like it was really clicking on all cylinders, and they were one and done in the postseason, losing at home to a banged-up 49ers team. What do you think were the key problems this past season?
Well, I think injuries to keep people in the offensive line, and some guys continue to play when they're a little bit banged up, and you're never as good as you would have been if you were 100% healthy. A year ago, they were 100% healthy for the most part, and they just got it done. They had, yes, they had a different offensive coordinator, but I think the number one thing was the injury factor, and the schedule was much tougher, and they beat more playoff teams than they lost to. So that's hard to do. I can remember in the old days, Bill Parcells was one of the only guys that I thought could do it on a consistent basis. It's tough to do when your schedule changes like that. I've experienced the same thing myself, so I know what I'm talking about. But I think that was a factor. And the variations in the schedule, God, my gosh, they were playing Monday night, Thursday nights, at the end, Saturday. I can remember when we went to the Super Bowl and won it, first, there was no expectations. And secondly, the schedule was the same all 16 games. So it was so much easier to have a routine and hold everybody responsible within that routine. So, and I think that was a factor. And maybe the slight change in the offensive coordinator. I say this to myself. I know that the rest of the offensive coaches did not forget what they did last year. So they had to be making suggestions and adding the thoughts that were so successful a year ago to the new offensive coordinator. But it just didn't work. And, of course, somebody has to take the blame. And, of course, they're always after the quarterback, and gosh, he had 6 or 7 games where he had a quarterback efficiency rating over 100. So, Jalen Hurts is a target. It's the easiest position to target when you're not as successful as you thought you were going to be.
Well, one of Jalen's targets is A.J. Brown. There was the A.J. Brown drama, of course. Can they bring him back and make that situation work out?
I think Nick can. Nick has proved that he can work with controversial personalities. He hasn't had many, and that's Howie Roseman does an unbelievable job bringing the right kind of personnel in there that fits. And AJ, he's different. But, when you read the comments that players say about him, they really like him. So he may display an attitude that's contradictory that you would like him to display. But within the locker room, the players like him. Now, I'm not too sure the coaches are excited about him right now because as verbal as he is. But I think Nick can handle it and Howie could handle it, because if they can't, they wouldn't bring him back. And I kind of believe they'll bring him back.
Okay. Coach, February 8th in Santa Clara, not far from where you went to college. It is Super Bowl 60, the New England Patriots and second-year quarterback Drake May battling Sam Darnold and the Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks early 5-point favorites. How do you see this one playing out?
I'm not as deeply aware of either team's strengths and weaknesses as I am the other teams that I follow more closely. But in watching Seattle play, I would give the edge to Seattle. I think they have more offense due to Darnold and the scheme and everything they do with the ball. They're more explosive, and they have proved that they can score against other playoff teams and score well and aggressive. I kind of would lead toward them, but I have great respect from Vrabel in that I broadcast a lot of his games when I was in broadcasting with Musburger at ABC. And I used to say to myself and watching him play, this guy would make a hell of a football coach, because you basically demonstrate what you are by what you do. And I never saw him take a slow snap on the football field. And I felt he could transfer that kind of attitude to his players, which he has done.
Yeah, should be a good game. I'm looking forward to it. Hey, Coach, we mentioned UCLA earlier. You were there, of course, when John Wooden was the head basketball coach, a legend. Any favorite John Wooden stories?
Well, yeah, he was a very positive influence on me because he was easy to talk to and so easy to understand. I've never met a man that could say more in fewer words than John Wooden. I can remember one incident I never forgot, and it helped me the rest of my career. I'm walking down the hall one day, and he comes up, he says, "Coach, what's wrong? You look real gloom and doom." And I said, "Well, we just lost 2 or 3 really great football players to USC in the signing date." He said, "Coach, don't worry about USC." He said, "They're always going to have better players than you. Just make sure you make every player you have the best he can be, and everything will take care of itself." And I never, ever forgot that.
Wow, that is awesome. Coach, last thing, you got a website for your winery, vermeilwines.com. What are you drinking these days?
Well, I'm a Cabernet guy, but there's very few wines, as long as they're not sweet, that I dislike. I'm not a wine snob. I'm not a wine connoisseur, and I don't make our own wines, but I've been involved all my life with the wine world. Right now, the wine world is not making the playoffs. It's down all through the United States, down dramatically in the Napa Valley in terms of the vineyards. The wineries aren't buying the grapes. People are leaving grapes on the vine. We're closing our tasting room as of January 31st. We are planning on doing it anyway. We'll maintain our business. We just won't have the tasting room. We have 450 so wine club members, 110, I think, in Philadelphia alone. So that's what we'll do. We'll make about 1,500 cases of wine a year, all high-end quality wine. All our 2003 Reds got 95 or 96 grades this year in terms of our Cabernets. So I'm pleased with what we do. I really am. But it's as tough to be successful in that business as it is to get to the Super Bowl. I'll tell you that.
And those great wines can be shipped to Pennsylvania and New Jersey, which is great. Coach Vermeil, enjoy the Super Bowl, and thanks for doing this once again. Let's do it again next year.
All right. I hope at 89. I'm not sure I'll be around, but I'm planning on it. Okay?
Oh, you'll be around. Thanks, Coach.
Take care.
Always great having the coach.
Oh, I love talking to him, man. Could you imagine him and John Wooden together? Man, I would love to hear some of those conversations.
Man, you went right up my heart with the John Wooden story.
Yeah.
I'm as big a John Wooden fan as there is. I think I've read everything he's ever written, and that's a lot.
Absolutely. In preparing for my annual chat with Coach Vermeil, and I spotted this actually a couple of years ago, and then I saw it again yesterday. Never brought it up to him, but I saw this piece that during the initial job interview, Coach Vermeil, Dick, said, "Why would I come to Philadelphia?" Jim Murray's reply, "Coach, I'm going to tell you something. You come to Philadelphia and these 3 things will happen. Not only will you move to Philadelphia, you'll bring your family and you'll stay here the rest of your life. You'll never leave, and you'll become a household name no matter what else you do in your life." There you go.
Bingo. That worked
Nailed
out
it.
just right, didn't it?
Awesome.
Hey, one other comment on the OC search, not to do with Coach Vermeil, but on the OC search. I think people are getting all indignant that this isn't happening and get very impatient about things. I'm looking at it this way. It's more important to get it right than to get it fast. Whatever it takes.
I agree. Now, most of the head coaching vacancies have been filled, but there are a lot of candidates still out there for OC jobs and a lot of open OC jobs as these new coaches, try to build a staff. So a lot of competition, and you want to get the right guy. So you got to be careful. You don't want to wait too long, but you also don't want to rush and just take anybody. So, I don't know where they're going with this, but
yeah, I don't either, because they've had a lot of candidates, and if they wanted Brian Dable, they'd have got him, right? And they waited so long. Now he's got another job. But that kind of guy who was just a head coach, they could have gotten those guys. But there's something that they're not, happy with, and make the right call, not the fast call. Jim Bob Cooter is going to be the guy, though. Write it down.
And we're going to have so much fun saying that name over the next couple of years.
Yeah, well, he doesn't sound like a Philly guy, but
No.
freaking Jim Bob does. But you know,
Yeah, freaking Jim Bob Cooter.
Hey, I think if you've got a random chat, now's probably the time to do that.
You think so? Well, let me ring the bell. Just
There you go.
Because tradition. Bill, you know that I'm a big music guy, and I've been on a kick lately where I've been listening to lots of stuff, even more than usual, from my formative years, musically speaking. As we've discussed previously, that would be the 1970s. There was just so much terrific music back then, and I've done this the last few years, early in the year. I've taken a look back at some of my personal favorite albums from 50 years earlier. So, Bill, pay attention to this one, take some notes, and then we're going to discuss afterwards. So
I got to take notes. You didn't tell me it was going to be a homework assignment.
Oh, yeah. We got an assignment for you. So take some notes and sit back for the next 7 minutes and enjoy.
All right.
I've mentioned previously that my favorite decade of music was the 1970s. I mean, all of my teen years happened in that decade. And boy, the year 1976 was killer in terms of memorable songs and albums. Over the next several minutes, I'll talk about some of the very best albums released 50 years ago. But let me first tell you that among the top singles from 76, according to Billboard, were hits like Sarah Smile by Hall & Oates. They got along back then. Wild Cherries, Play That Funky Music. The Four Seasons, December 1963. Oh, what a night. Afternoon Delight. Who can forget that one-hit wonder? And the top single of the year, not one of my faves, I'll tell you, Silly Love Songs by Wings. But let's talk about albums from that year. 1976 was the year that the USA celebrated its 200th birthday, and it was also a huge year for live albums. There were hit live releases that year from the likes of Bob Seger, Bob Dylan, Elton John, Iggy and the Stooges, Led Zeppelin, the Allman Brothers, Deep Purple, Peter Frampton, of course, and Paul McCartney, his aforementioned post-Beatles band, that would be Wings. I often don't include live albums in my favorites of the year list, but a few of those that I mentioned were massive ones, and you have to consider those. So will they make my list? You'll see. There were lots of damn good debut albums released in 1976 also, from the likes of Blondie, Boston, Crocus, The Runaways, Graham Parker and the Rumor, and Stars, plus the first ever international release from AC/DC and the major label debut from the late, great Warren Zevon. There were so many great albums released in 1976 that a bunch of memorable ones did not crack my top 10. As you can see here, there were several big ones that didn't even land in my top 25, from legends including Jeff Beck, Black Sabbath, Chicago, the Doobie Brothers, Genesis, Kansas, Lou Reed, Joni Mitchell, and ZZ Top. Making it into my honorable mention area were solid albums like Bad Company's Run with the Pack, Led Zeppelin's Presence, the debut from the Ramones, Bob Seger's Night Moves, and Thin Lizzy's Jailbreak, which, by the way, includes one of my all-time favorite tunes, The Boys Are Back in Town. Check out albums numbers 11 through 15 on my list from 1976. Classics like Billy Joel's Turnstile, Steve Miller's Fly Like an Eagle, Electric Light Orchestra's A New World Record, Bowie's Station to Station, and Wings Over America. Opening track on that one, Maybe I'm Amazed, is another one of my all-time favorite tunes. Oh, I never include greatest hits releases in my favorites from a particular year, but I will mention that it was early 1976 that the Eagles released their greatest hits, 1971 to 75, which very recently was certified by the record industry at 40 times platinum, meaning sales of more than 40 million units. It remains the best-selling album of all time. Don Henley, Glenn Frey and Company released a pretty legendary studio album later in 1976, and you can bet that one will check in pretty high on my list. Okay, let's get to it. My personal top 10 favorite albums released in 1976. The one at number 10 is an album that I don't personally own. The only one of the top 10 that I don't have. But man, I would hear it from my scores of music-loving friends if I didn't include Stevie Wonder's double LP masterpiece, Songs in the Key of Life. I Wish, Sir Duke, and Isn't She Lovely? All big hits from that one. At number 9, one that dropped 11 days before I saw my first ever concert, and it was by the band in question. The show was Kiss, and the album was Destroyer, with tunes including Detroit Rock City, Beth, God of Thunder, and Shout It Out Loud. Yeah, I was a proud member of the Kiss Army. 8th on my list is, well, one from another one of my favorite bands from the 1970s and 80s, and they'll be back on tour on the road this summer with a new drummer. My favorite Canadian rock trio, Rush, and their album 2112, with the entire side one being the 20-minute 7-part title song, Epic. And yes, I will be seeing them in August in Philly. In the 7th spot, another classic, the self-titled debut from Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. This one right here. Now, I didn't discover this album or band until a year or so later, but man, still today, I love hearing songs from that one, including Breakdown, Anything That's Rock and Roll, and of course, American Girl. I just saw a pretty good tribute band, a Tom Petty tribute band last week called The Broken Hearts. At number 6, oh man, I wore this one out. An album with memorable songs like Tie Your Mother Down and, of course, Somebody to Love. I'm talking about Queen's A Day at the Races. So glad that I got to see Queen live twice the following year. Nobody commanded a stage like the late, great Freddie Mercury. Okay, on to my top 5. And in the 5th spot, a big one from these guys. Aerosmith, their 4th album called Rocks, and boy, it did rock. Terrific songs including Back in the Saddle, Sick as a Dog, and Last Child. Number 4 on my list of favorite albums of 1976. Yeah, the double live album that I think everybody owned in the late 1970s, released in mid-January of 76. Frampton Comes Alive. It spent 10 weeks at number 1. It sold over 8 million units in 1976 alone, the year's top-selling record, of course, and one of the very best-selling live albums of all time. AC/DC released a couple of albums in their native Australia in 1975, but it wasn't until May of 76 that High Voltage, with a slightly revised song list, was released internationally. And I was blown away when I first heard this one. It's still a favorite to listen to today, with rockers like TNT, It's a Long Way to the Top. The album High Voltage is my 3rd favorite from 1976. Well, when I began assembling my list of favorites from 1976, I knew right away which 2 would be right at the top. Both of these albums are rarities in that there's not a single bad song on either of them. I put the debut album from Boston, this one right here, with songs like Long Time, More Than a Feeling, and Peace of Mind in the 2nd slot. And then at number 1, of course, it is the Eagles, Hotel California. My God, this is so good. Their first one with Joe Walsh on board and yielding hits like the title song, plus New Kid in Town and Life in the Fast Lane. Who doesn't love this one? Come on. All right, there it is on the screen. My list, 50 years later, my top 10 and a bunch of other favorites from the year 1976. Freeze that picture right there. Study the list of albums that came out. What a memorable year. See if you agree with my choices. I will gladly still listen to any and all of these albums this year and for years to come. Thanks for watching and keep rocking. There you go.
Boy, that's a lot to take in.
So how did I do, Bill? I'm going to put up the list again. Tell me which one of these were among your favorites.
Well, I actually I saw the Eagles live in 76. I saw Boston live in 76. I saw Frampton live in 76 and 77 at JFK. Saw both of them. I saw Kiss 77-ish, I think. And the thing about Kiss, Chet, when we were young, now would you call yourself a Kiss groupie or what would you call yourself?
I was a Kiss Army member. Kiss Army.
Kiss was like a kiddie band back then. They're more respected now 50 years later than they were then.
Yeah, there was some of that back then. Like the people who liked Led Zeppelin and Black Sabbath thought you were like not cool if you liked Kiss, but come on.
Well,
Kiss rocked.
Well, yeah, whatever. And but I am disappointed in you on one. I've had to make myself a note. Night Moves is on the list.
Yeah,
it's got to be on the list.
honorable mention.
Yeah, you
area,
had it buried in the back.
I know. Like I said, 1976 was such a great year for music. I probably own more albums from that year than any other year. I mean, maybe 74 to 77. That was my zone where like there were just so much great music and I had to have all of it. Of course, back then albums were like $5.98, $6.98 a piece.
That was a lot of money though.
Well, yeah, it was back then, but still I had to have them.
Well, I like your 1 and 2 choices. They're definitely good. When I saw the Eagles at the Spectrum, the lead band that night was Boss Skaggs, that nobody really knew anything about at the time.
Yeah, and he's down in the not even the honorable mention area, I guess. Yeah, Boss Skaggs.
And
so
that's
good.
an excellent album. Excellent album
good.
as well.
Yep.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
I love doing that.
All right. We can get some feedback from others. I see some things coming around. Boston, AC/DC, Rush mentioned.
Yep.
Denny likes your top 10.
There you go. See that?
There you go. Frampton was fantastic. That was a great run with that album. Holy cow.
I never saw Frampton or Boston. The only two of the top 9. Never saw Stevie Wonder either. So 3 out of the top 10 I never saw.
He never saw you either.
No. Good one.
Let's bring. All right. We're down to the Super Bowl. Somebody wants to brag about their picks or something. I got some message bragging. How did we do in the championship weekend?
I'm so glad you asked, Bill. Here's what happened. With me up by just 1 game on Boop going into championship weekend and him picking the 2 underdogs, there was the possibility that he could have surpassed me, but it didn't happen. The 2 underdogs both lost, so you and I had the same picks. We were both 2-0, Boop 0-2, so me now at 9-3 through the postseason so far with just the Super Bowl remaining. Well, I have clinched the postseason title, Bill, so I'm pretty excited about that. I look forward to the presentation of the trophy and the $10,000 prize that goes with it.
Well, did you not get the message from Boop that the commissioner of the picks has decided that the Super Bowl is worth 5 points?
I must have missed that one.
Yeah, Boop was supposed to get that to you. Maybe he just didn't do it yet, but be aware that it's coming. All right, we'll make our predictions next week. As we said earlier, Seattle right now is minus 4.5 point favorites in that game, so it'll be interesting to see how that game goes. It's gonna.
Yeah, we'll talk more about that.
Got a chance to be a good one, I think.
I think so. I'm going to enjoy it, I hope.
Yep. Well, hey, we had a great guest tonight in the coach, Dick Vermeil. Who's coming to Philly Pressbox Radio next week?
I don't know. I have one feeler out there for next week, but the guest in question did not yet get back to me today. So hopefully we'll figure that out tomorrow, and I'll let you know. But so far, don't know who's going to be here next week, but I have a guest for later in February. So I'll work on that tomorrow.
How about we worry about that later in February?
Yeah. All right. I'll be busy.
Right. Hey,
I'll be busy in the next few days.
Hey, we got to talk about the Flyers a minute. They're reeling, and it's not good. They're playing bad hockey right now. I saw PJ flashed up there. They were already behind 1-0 tonight. They're not playing well, and I don't know how Rick Tockett's going to get this thing stopped. Best thing that could happen to them is the Olympic break.
Well, the crazy thing is they got 5 out of the 6 points possible on that West Coast trip last week. They beat the best team in the league 7-3, Colorado Friday night. I actually watched a bunch of that third period. You thought, wow, this is going to get them all fired up again. Monday night, they come home, they get shut out by the Islanders. I mean, you can't let that happen.
And played bad. They didn't play well. You know,
you can't let that happen.
You get beat, but they didn't play well, and then they got hammered. So I don't know.
He said they weren't ready to play, and that's on him. But come on, you got to get these guys ready to play. Every game counts. You know how tight the standings are, so a point or two here or there could cost you that playoff spot. And we would love to have playoff action again at the center this spring because it's been way too long. Dan Vladar, the goaltender who's been out injured, he can't get back fast enough. And I think he's coming back later this week, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think that's the plan. But, Zegras has cooled off. Offensively, they're struggling a bit. And as you mentioned, the goaltending hasn't been as good. Just overall, they're not playing well. And like I said, the Olympic break just can't happen fast enough for these guys to rejuice and get away from the game. And hopefully they're still, in the hunt. Like you say, every point matters. And when you're losing every night, you're dropping quick.
Tied it up 1-1. There you go. 1-1 now. So go Flyers. Go Flyers.
Absolutely. Well, hey, Chet, speaking of that, get your DVR ready. The Winter Olympics start next Friday, and I love the Olympics.
I know you do. So, yeah, you'll be watching a lot of that. We are just over a week away. And also another thing, Netflix this Friday is dropping a documentary about the Miracle on Ice team. So that's going to be fun to watch because, 46 years later already, come on.
Yep. And Michael Ruzioni has said that this movie is better than Miracle.
Really? Huh.
Yes.
I would definitely check that out. So that's
really
on Netflix starting this Friday.
Yeah, they're doing a lot of. There's a trailer running that's pretty good too. You check it out. So
I didn't see the trailer, but I did see a bunch of the guys on the Today Show yesterday morning talking about it. So yeah, looks very cool. Bill, one other thing, the official schedule now is out for Penn State, and man, if you like cupcakes, they got them on here, Bill. They open with Marshall, Temple, and Buffalo. That Temple game in Philadelphia, by the way. And they don't have to play Indiana or Ohio State this year. So, man, this is ideal for the new coach, Matt Campbell, coming in. So, get these wins.
Well, don't get misled. Okay, don't get misled by this anymore.
How so?
Because everybody's buying teams. So Purdue, let's say Purdue, for example, is always a dog. Well, if they spent $40 million on their roster, they might not be a dog this year. Right? And Penn State's roster is full of Iowa State kids. So there's no guarantee.
Look at that list of transfers. Look at that.
Yeah, I mean, it's you can't go. It's not the way it used to be even 5 years ago, where you could get down a schedule and say win, tough game, loss, win. It ain't like that anymore because anybody can buy a new team. All of a sudden, SMU is good. All of a sudden, Texas Tech is good because they found these rich guys that are dumping money into their programs, and it's going to be the end, unfortunately, for college athletics and college
on
football,
paper. At least it looks like a pretty nice schedule to gather up some wins.
It certainly does, and it's always good for the Philadelphia fans when Penn State comes down into Philly to play Temple. There's always a huge crowd, and it's always a fun game. But like I say, you can't just check off wins like you used to be able to.
Bill, did you watch MASH, the TV series, back in the day?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I was a crazy, like I can't miss every one, but I've watched a lot of it. Yeah.
Same with me. I didn't watch it all the time. It's not one of my all-time favorites, although I do respect it for being, considered a great, great series. Alan Alda, 90 years old today.
90.
It's his birthday.
Yeah, I saw that. And I believe he is still married. His wife is still alive as well, I believe.
I don't know.
And she's about 90. And they've been married for like 60 some years, 70 years or something.
Yeah, and he still does a little acting. I saw him in something just about a year ago. So he's still out there, still getting around.
Hey, good for him. You see guys like Lou Schonfeld, Coach Vermeil, Alan Alda, they're 90. It's what a great thing.
90, it's the new 80.
Ooh, there you go. All right. Got anything else?
No, let's wrap it up.
Fortunately, nobody died this week. That's a good thing. We don't have to talk about that before we go. All right, let's wrap it up. Let's thank tonight's guest, the coach, Dick Vermeil. Our sponsors, the Irish Rover Station House, Cavs Philly Tailgates, PPCC 118 Raz Room. For Jim Chet Chesko, this is Bill Furman. We hope you enjoyed the show. We'll join Philly Press Box Radio next Wednesday, February 4th at 7 p.m. You can see us live on Facebook, on our Philly Press Box YouTube channel, and on the STT Sports Network YouTube channel. Listen on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and all the others. High hopes, Philadelphia sports fans.
And Bill, just for the heck of it,